illustration and editing software as a tools for your meditative expressions?
Yes. So we're having to talk about things that we're not actually able to demonstrate. So bear with me a little on that. But I can talk about the functionality, and I think people can maybe relate to when I talk about what does what, how it functions. So with photo editing, when we're trying to express energy, we're trying to express the divine in nature, maybe. You can think of it in terms of photo editing allows more than one image, one separate image can be combined. So you could combine something that was very symbolic, like a mountain with a different sky, or a more dramatic landscape, in a seamless way. And you actually can even keep the separate parts of it live so that at different times you can move the pieces around and then have a composite of that. So the first thing to remember is that with photo editing, the combinations can be real or surreal, depending on what you're looking for, what you want to express. So that's a very powerful thing. And it was relatively new. We take it for granted now, right? We see this all over the place, but it can create, you can bring things together that weren't necessarily associated to empower it, to make it even stronger on the theme that you're trying to go for. So that's the photo editing part. And I started with both photo editing and illustration. But as I started working more and more in consciousness and experienced more inner dimensions, the mental dimension, the life force dimension, and even higher dimensions, I wanted to create works that showed energy as states of consciousness. And what I found was that illustration software could be abstract, symbolic, but more plastic in a certain way. It didn't have a rigid image. It was more fluid, so it could express the energy and the consciousness in ways that were changeable. So for example, there are some things that with illustration software that really helped display the qualities of light, the qualities of radiance, the qualities of illumination. And one of them was creating mandalas or centers and making them, repeating those qualities so that you can experience possibly wholeness or centeredness, right? The other thing that I found was that there's certain special algorithms. Now that sounds complicated, but let's just say abilities to shift colors as they display that bring in more transparency. That's another quality of digital media that is extremely useful for showing luminescence. Because at any level, there's this quality with both photo editing and illustration software, but I've been pioneering it with my illustration software. And it's something particularly strong with digital media, and it's a quality of transparency. And if you can picture that at every level, you can have separate levels. So you could have certain colors on one level, certain colors on another. The transparency goes from 0 to 100%. So at every level, you can choose how strong or how faint that color progression is. And you can combine them. So there's some complexity. And then there is a quality that shifts color. It's called color modes or blend modes. Don't need to remember the name, but there's this ability to shift color and transparency with each one of these settings. So I know it's a little complicated, but that's why my work has a unique quality, because it's utilizing this transparency, this shift, this intensity, and lack of intensity all together to manifest a certain state of consciousness or a certain centering process.
Nice, thank you. It sounds like so deep. I mean, I never believe like digital illustration will be like this, no? You always like, oh, it's something very banal, like,
Right. Believe me, and it is. It can be. That's the extraordinary quality here.
oh, okay,
It's like we talk a lot about the two-edged sword or the opposite ends of a tool. I see so much digital media used that is not appealing, is not uplifting,
exactly.
right? So I feel privileged in a way because, and I hearken back to my beginnings. When I started, consciousness was not a common theme, and certainly not in digital media. And
Exactly.
so as I had to grow, I had to improve my inner skills, if you will, so that my outer skills would manifest something deeper and truer and wider. And if I'm lucky, help others see that within themselves so that they can do whatever they need to do from a deeper and truer and wider place.
This is amazing and impressive because it's, I mean, you probably really, I mean, you probably study a lot and you have a lot of skills to go in to make all these layers of colors, pastels and different kind of tones. And it's like, oh my God, yes, how I
Well,
should.
see, I was so lucky
Yes.
because I became a teacher, right? I was doing desktop publishing. I had an opportunity to teach
Mhm.
at several adult schools and then at the University of Santa Cruz Extension. And so I had to, perfect my ability to translate this to other artists. And that was a privilege, by the way, to help many photographers and illustrators gain access to jobs, right? Um, and in the Silicon Valley, I was at the University of Santa Cruz, but their extension program was in Cupertino. So my point is, I had to learn it all, and I had to learn it all for a very hard, tough audience because the Silicon Valley, if you're going to work there at that time, you had to be at top of your game. So it was extremely challenging. I'm an intuitive person. Yes, I have my analytical side, but I'm intuitive. But I could teach other people through perceptual means. I was teaching a visual media, even though it was very analytical, very step by step, but I could use visual teaching aids to get it across. So that's how I became so skilled. It's an interesting circle. What I had to learn so deeply was freed to be used in my artwork eventually.
Wow, incredible. Thank you, Margaret. So let's pass to this question that is really technical, I guess. What is the significance of transparency, overlays, and shape replication in your work?
Okay, we'll do our best. So, and I've explained a little bit, but I'll try and explain a little more. So, one of the things that again, we have this left brain, right brain, analytical, intuitive. So, one of the things that was striking to learn was that even though I was looking at a work in front of me, right, that it was listed, I hope I can explain this, it was listed in terms of layers top to bottom. So I'm looking at it through front to back in front of me, but it's being listed. Now, you have to get used to that. That's just kind of strange, right? It's not straightforward, but once you understand that every layer controls a certain part of the drawing, you can hide and show a certain part, you can lock and unlock, you have a lot of control of these layers that you're looking at this way, but being controlled through a panel interface top to bottom. So once you understand that, then your ability to create the shapes, your ability to make them hide or show, or even have transparency, because the transparency issue, when there's multiple layers, increases power and complexity, right? It can also bring in these certain qualities of luminescence and radiance and subtlety. And I'll say one other thing. There are some downsides to the color display of digital work, and you may have seen it. Sometimes you don't want a neon quality. Well, when you're working on a computer, neon is, your colors can be garish at times. You have to learn how to work with your palette, how to create colors, store them, repurpose them so that you have really the palette you want, not the palette the computer wants to give you, right? You learn to customize.
Wow.
And then, go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is amazing. Yes.
And one last thing. So it took me a very long time before, and when we look at my work at some point, you'll see that I'm able to create a more metallic or iridescent quality to my work over time. And again, it's this color mode shift ability that again, if you're working on something, and I think many artists will say the same thing, mastery takes it takes years. And so because I was teaching, I have to learn that software. And then I'm working on my work and I'm doing the inner work. I'm as dedicated to that, even more so than my career or my art. So they come together, right? Over time, year in, year out, year in, year out. So I've been able to retard the negative side of the computer, which can be garish or neon, and I've been able to bring in the luminescence or the metallic iridescent side that shows the quality of light.
Thank you. That was a great explanation. Sure.